you guys were talking about religion and Bill Maher and all that, and I've been a fan of Bill Maher since he was a stand-up, and I don't understand why people don't like him. I used to like Sam Harris, but he's a blithering idiot. But I think with Bill Maher and me, I think we just both want religion eradicated, because that's the problem. It's not the refugees or Christianity or Islam, but it's actually just the whole mythology of it all getting into our laws, just like...
I hear that, Brian. I hear that. But the point, though, is check how Maher reserves his specific kind of vitriol for. Check what he advocates for in regards to Israel. He has Sam Harris on not to talk about atheism as like a general principle. I don't believe religious ideology is the way to go. I don't believe in God. But the thing is that Harris's specific project is to talk about how Islam is worse, and that breeds the exact kind of bigotry that we're seeing right now. And so, like, I totally, I get it. I watch Religious. That was a big part of my atheist kind of renaissance. But just look a little bit more about how Maher targets Islam specifically.
The Israel example is game, set, and match, because if you were really concerned about the effect of religion and being intertwined with the state, I mean, the exclusive nature of Zionism, I think, is an example that you cannot glare over, or let alone come regularly to the defense of. And I think that's where there's other things, issues there with Maher, but on this issue particularly, I think that's the glaring inconsistency.
I would also just...
Well, I totally agree. I mean, the way that I look at it, and this is with all religions, not just the Abrahamic religions, is that, I rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 on how dangerous they are to me. And, I mean, Islam does go over the line on that one, and Christianity too. But, I mean, as far as the Jews go, I mean, I don't even... I don't think that they're...
Dude, how is Islam very dangerous to you?
Well, 9/11, they call me the Great Satan.
We all know that Bush did 9/11, so I don't know what that has to do with anything. But I can take that argument and I can sort of unpack it, because I think it's really Bill Maher. I'm not the world's hugest fan. I've seen a few episodes. Sometimes it's funny. I guess sometimes it's not. But Islam isn't the reason why terrorists attack America. That's like saying they attack America because of their freedom. It's like, it seems easier to blame Islam or a religion, as again, sort of like a version of culture, and, it seems more evolved than blaming, let's say, because they're Arab or from the Middle East or whatever. But ultimately, it still obscures the power relationships at play that are actually underlying the cause for why, the people don't like America. And so I think it's easy to pretend like they don't like America because of the sky god. But Islam.
So the real danger, just to quickly interrupt Brandon, the real danger, Brian, is like the effects of United States bloodshed and imperialism, not the ideology that people use.
I totally agree. Yes, there is that also. I mean, and yes, they see us as the Christian devils on top of all that, and I mean that is all there. So
but again, that's overly simplifying. You're focused way too much on religion, and this is the problem.
All right, well, wait a minute. Before we go on, I mean, they were screaming Allah Akbar when they were flying those planes into the buildings. So the religion is very much intertwined in this.
Yeah, they's carrying a lot of weight. Like, they is a very load-bearing. Like, who's they when we're talking about they?
I didn't get that. What was...
Okay, you're looking at religion. Religion is ancillary to the power dynamics, right?
Yeah, I assume American soldiers said "God damn it" and stuff like this. That's just a matter of language fundamentally. What ultimately motivated them? If you're going to say that's just out of the Quran, it's just ridiculously reductive and not at all a useful conversation. And that's the problem with Sam Harris, and it's also the problem with Bill Maher.
Also, Muslims are around 25% of the population in the world, right? So I don't understand how Islam, as in general, is something that's a threat to you in Arizona.
The whole all religions are a threat to me to different levels, but they're all designed also to take over the world. Really, that to have 10 zillion kids and teach them all that this is the way that it is, and this is the exact way that it is, and these are the people to hate, and these are the people to kill, and that goes for Christians and Islam. And I don't know. I haven't really looked into the Jewish population too much.
Well, no, but
I haven't really heard much about it.
That's not the case at all historically for any of these religions. The truth is that all these attitudes shift and evolve over time in the context of specific, material conditions and political conditions. Like it doesn't. So it's not the religion. Again, you want to make it about the religion, but it's not.
No, because in the Middle East, there used to be a lot more secular parts of the Middle East, and essentially when the United States got involved and when imperialism got involved, that breeds extremism, and it doesn't matter what forms of it. Like, for example, take what's happening in India. There is mass discrimination and subjugation of the Muslim minority there, and the Hindu nationalists are using their ideology to discriminate against and subjugate Muslims. So in that instance, though, how is the religion and the ideology as inherently more dangerous? How is that involved in that example?
Well, let's talk about the Crusades. I mean, they were going. It's the same thing that you're talking about here. Is the Crusades were going and trying to extinguish the Muslims and the Jews.
And at that point, let me cut in there. That at that point, the Muslims were a much more sort of cosmopolitan society. And the difference was because not anything to do with the religions themselves, but about the context they found themselves in and how they expressed religion. Religion is just basically a formalized culture that evolves in a society, but it's a secondary to the things we're talking about when it comes to why you should be afraid in Arizona of a religious group. I have news for you that Arizona has anti-BDS legislation, so that's a direct impact on your freedom of speech there. I don't know that there's Sharia law anywhere in Arizona. So but
there's Christian law. There's Christian law in all over America. I mean, the abortion that's Christianity. That has nothing to do with actually.
I know, but you said that Islam is more of a threat to you.
Well, they trained here. The plane is trained in Arizona and Phoenix. You know what I mean?
Cut out.
They,
you cut out.
They were a threat to me. Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes I have problems with the connection. But yeah, the Muslims.
Okay, we're having Brian. I'm sorry. We have to. We can't hear you. That's the issue. Sorry about that.
Not sure what's going on, but
all right, Brian, I'm sorry we had to hang up on you, and I hopefully you listen to this. You're
not being. That's not the threat. It is I don't know. I don't know how much more we can say. You're focusing too much on religion when these things obviously change in the context of history. What are we doing?
You should be focusing on capitalism and imperialism. That's the driver.
The Bin Laden family and I don't know.
They were wealthy, Saudi.
Yeah, those sorts of capitalistic political connections. Or instead, you could point to a fucking old book from thousands of years ago and say this is why they're doing the bad thing.
These Saudis who also their kids went to Ivy were educated in America, by the way, also.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's these sorts of it's obvious who these sort of cultural fixations serve, and it's not a way of, actually challenging the things that do bad things in the world.
Well, I mean, for me, it seems like these are just the remnants of that early 2000s, mid 2000s wave of internet atheists Richard Dawkins and Bill Maher with religiosity or whatever it was called, and the undercurrent of that was that they, by being vocally atheists, were demonstrating some kind of more refined logic than everybody who is not always like screaming about being atheists or whatever. But at the end of the day, it just seems like they've gotten to the point where religion, regardless of whether or not they believe in a God, has defined their analysis of the entire world to the point in which it just becomes the primary driver for everyone who is not them. And rather, it must be the primary driver for what everyone who is not them is doing, if, you know, they reference it at all. But, you know, I think we know better than to just take what people say is their motivation at face value, because we know a lot of preachers out there say that they are working in the world of God, but they just, you know, have to have that Cadillac. That Cadillac, you know, they have to have that sort of like, you know, 15 Rolexes, the sort of prosperity preacher tradition that they work with within the South. And so it's, you know, it's tempting to, you know, position oneself as like being inherently more logical than those who are taking a position on religion or, you know, pro or whatever. But at the end of the day, once that just becomes like your entire analysis of the way like the world functions, it just becomes, you know, obvious that you're defined by religion too. So what's the point?
Yeah, that's the irony, is these new atheist types like Sam Harris, they come to basically reproduce the mirror image of the fundamentalist worldview, because they take that everything extrapolates from the holy text.
Right, exactly. Like it's the definition of feeding into the framing of what you're, I guess, ostensibly trying to oppose.
But you know, just to jump onto that too, like going back to the special treatment that people like that give to like non-white populations in terms of like religions that they think define them in the Middle East, you know, it just seems like a natural evolution of, you know, what was classical imperialist justification that, you know, the people there, well, they're not backwards because they worship a religion at all. They're backwards because they worship the wrong religion. And now we've gotten this new wave of, you know, colonial imperative, of imperialist imperative that's like, okay, well, you know, they're not bad because they worship the wrong God. They're bad because they're just, you know, too religious, right? You know, which in the end, we still have people who believe they worship the wrong God promoting the war. And now we have people who believe themselves to be more logical about the whole situation, promoting the war because they, you know, align with that same belief that there's just something intrinsic about that population that makes them less logical, even if they disagree with the other people in their own country about what that happens to be. It's still that, you know, the country itself is based in some kind of backwards logic.
I'd also just advise the caller to watch like the Maher clips about the boy in Texas who brought a clock to school, and ask himself if he's literally talked about any white person or Christian like that in the history of the show.
Right.
Yeah, I would also add Allah Akbar.
Yeah, if I say Jesus Christ in exasperation, that means I'm probably on a Christian jihad.
Like, I mean, I don't know what more proof you need that religion is the main thing we need to talk about, because they said Allah Akbar before dying. Like,
checkmate.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.